Welcome to Javascript learning series. In this video, we are going to explain the arrow functions in detail. So let's get started. Arrow function expression is a compact alternative to the traditional function expression with some semantic difference and deliberate limitations in usage. Let's understand arrow functions syntax and the difference with the traditional function expressions first with some example. So in arrow functions can be written like this. This is the expressions, or you can avoid the parentheses if you have only the single argument in the function. So as we know how we can write the arrow functions, let's take some example to understand like how we can convert the traditional functions into the arrow function. Let's say I have one function or I would say a which is going to return a plus 100. This is the very simple function, and let's say normal function equal to. So here we have the example of the normal traditional function in JavaScript. Now if we want to convert this function into the arrow function, the simplest way is const, let's say arrow function equal to, so we will remove the function keyword, put the arrow and return a plus 100. So here also, as we have only the single line of code, only the return statement within our function, we can remove these curly braces and return statement, and we can write like this also. And as we have only single argument, we can remove this also. So there are different way, like different way we can write the arrow functions, depends on the number of argument you have and the depend on the functions definition. So now as we know the how we can write the arrow functions, let's see some of the limitations which we cannot use, in which we cannot use the arrow functions. So one of the limitation is we cannot use arrow functions as a traditional function because the arrow function does not have its own context, or we can say its own this scope. So let's understand this by example. Let me comment out this code and let's have some another example to understand this particular scenario. Let's say I have one object which will have I equal to 10, and there is one arrow function. Let's say it's called b, which will return, or I would do console.log this dot I, and I'm also here consoling the value of this so that we can check the difference between the traditional and the arrow functions related to their own context. and here I have another function. This is the traditional function where again, sorry, there is no arrow here, and console.log the same, this dot I and this. Now let me call the first obj.p and see the output. So if you can here see, we have undefined, so we don't have the I value here, because here the this object here in this sentence, the this object is referring to the window. So this will clear that arrow function does not have their own context. Its arrow function always going to refer that window object as a scope. So now let's call this C function, clear the console, and so here you can see we have the output this dot I 10, and another this is referring to this particular all object which contains two functions and one property I. So I hope this particular limitations is clear. Now let's see some other limitations. So another limitation, let me first comment this code. And yep, let's start with some another limitations. So another limitation is we cannot use arrow functions as a constructor. If we are trying to use it, it will, the JavaScript interpreter will give you the error. So let's try this. I have one function test. This is nothing is going to do, just the dummy function, dummy arrow function. And now let me try cont test1 equal to new test and see the console. If you can see here, it gives test is not a constructor. So I hope this is clear, like we cannot use arrow functions as a constructor. Okay, so let me comment this code and let's move to the next limitations. So in the first limitations, we already know that we don't have a scope while we are creating the arrow function, like own scope while we are creating the arrow function. So because of this, we cannot use call, bind and apply method. It will give you the different result if you are going to use the call, bind or apply method with the arrow functions. So let's see this with example. Let's say I have one object which I am going to use to change the scope while calling the function equal to 100, and I have one global variable this dot num equal to 42. This is object. Now let me create one function. First we will create a normal function. This is going to take argument a, b and c and going to return this dot num plus a plus b plus c. Now let's call this function add 1 2 3, and output should be 42 plus 6, it's 48, because right now we are calling directly the function, so it should take this dot num, this one. So it's 48 as expected. Now let's use call, and it should be add dot call. I am going to pass this obj to change the context, and 1 2 and 3. Now our output should be 106. Let's clear the console, and here we can see the output is 106. Now this is the traditional function. Now let's convert this into the arrow function and see the difference. Let me comment this code and copy this code too, and I'm going to change this function const add equal to abc arrow function, and here I can remove this part, and let's see the output. Now the output should be 48 in both the scenario. See, if we can see 48, so there is no use of using call, because whenever you trying to use the call, as arrow function does not have its own scope, you can't change or their context or scope within that function. So similar behavior should be for the apply and bind. If you want detailed explanation about call, bind and apply, I have a separate video for that. You can check on the card, and in the description I will add the video link. You can follow that video for the detailed explanation on call, bind and apply. So I hope this third limitation is also clear, like why we cannot use call, bind and apply with the arrow functions. Again, one more things, like while using the arrow function you can't move this arrow into the new line due to the operator precedence. If you can see here, it will give you the error unexpected token, but you can move this part to the new line if you want. It will give you the output exactly what is required. So yep, I hope all the doubts related to arrow functions will be cleared after this watching this video. If you have any other doubts, you can write it in comment sections. If you have any suggestions, you can write in the comment sections. If you want some particular topic to be covered, then please write it in the comment section. And yep, see you guys on the next video. Till then, happy programming.